So my wife made me an offer. If I was willing to trade in the Leaf for a cheaper plug-in hybrid vehicle, we could buy the Chevy Silverado EV pickup when it comes out in early 2024. So I was thinking to myself, would this actually make sense? There's been some debate in the comment section about whether or not a plug-in vehicle would be a good option for some people, and I actually think that it is. I know a gentleman here in the northern suburbs of the Twin Cities who actually uses a Chevy Volt to do rideshare, and he's had a really good experience with it, and that's a Chevy Volt with a V. He has a
Pro, stop recording.
I am safe. I did make that red light. Was General Motors right to kill the Chevy Volt with a V in favor for full battery electric at the time that they did? The short answer to that question is no. I don't believe that that was a good decision. Plug-in hybrids are still a very good option for very many people. Today they are relatively efficient, especially a vehicle like the Toyota Prius Prime has a very good combined efficiency rating, although it has a lower level of all electric than the Volt did. For me personally, if I was going to go with a plug-in hybrid, I would go with something like a Volt, which has 50 miles of all electric range, and I believe that would fit the needs of most people. I have a friend who lives here in the Twin Cities but has extended family in Madison, Wisconsin, so he makes that drive regularly, and he wanted a car that would be able to make it to Madison without needing to stop and charge, which I understand. Not everybody wants to be kind of the guinea pig for early technology. At the time, I had recommended that he get a Chevy Volt because from where he lived and to where his kids go to school and to where he works in Minneapolis, he would be able to run on electricity 99% of the time that he used the car, and only on a monthly or semi-monthly basis when he was going to Wisconsin would he then need to tap into the battery. And that kind of makes sense for the majority of people. There are a lot of studies on this, but the average American drives around 33 miles a day or so. Any plug-in vehicle that has, say, over 40 miles is going to be a good option for a lot of people. I believe that having a plug-in hybrid option is also a good gateway for people to get to learn and understand how electric vehicles work. If somebody wants a vehicle similar to a crossover that they currently use but they don't want to go full electric, instead of having them go into a regular hybrid or going into an internal combustion vehicle, I would say that companies should be encouraging people to go into the plug-in hybrid so that they can see the use case, understand better how electricity would work in their lives. They build that muscle of plugging in the car every day or whenever they get home. And in the case for a lot of these plug-in hybrid vehicles, they wouldn't even really need to upgrade to a level 2 EVSE. They would simply plug it into the level 1 that's already in their garage if they don't have a level 2, and that would fill pretty much their daily need for all electric. And I believe that as people would see that, oh, I'm going to the gas station once a month, twice a month, they're going to look at it and say, well, maybe I don't really need to have a gasoline vehicle. And in families like mine where we have 2 cars, we have a big 7-person crossover for our 6-person family. My wife and I are fairly committed to having an electric vehicle as our second car. It works especially well in those situations because for our daily needs, we can drive whatever electric car we have available, whether it's a full battery electric or it's a hybrid vehicle. And then in the situations where there are all 6 of us going to one place, or if we're going on a long trip, then we could take our ICE vehicle. Of course, in an ideal situation for us, there would be affordable large crossovers or SUVs that were fully gas, but that's just not an option right now. One vehicle like that that's available is Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid, and my wife and I looked at those before we bought our car, but the pricing on those was just too high for us to consider at the time because we were in the process of getting out of debt and we wanted a car that we could pay off in 1 calendar year. That's why we ended up going with the Traverse. Also, my wife is just not a fan of minivans, So if we could get a 7-person crossover, that's something that my wife would actually say, yeah, that's a really good option, and that's something that we would seriously consider doing. The average family can't afford to spend 90 or 100 grand on a crossover. That's an area that Tesla has specialized in, and Rivian's crossovers also started around 70 grand or something like that. That's still a really expensive price for a car. When you value other things over your form of transportation, it doesn't make sense. So more plug-in options would definitely be a good thing. Here is a Santa Fe. That's a regular one, but they also introduced a plug-in variant very recently. And I know that they used to build a Sonata plug-in hybrid. I don't know if they still do. That would also be an option for people who want a plug-in and they want to get into electricity, but they don't want to go all in on a big battery vehicle. And as an owner of a Chevy Bolt EV in the past with 240 miles of range, that car hit the sweet spot because it's a very budget-friendly vehicle, relatively speaking. 240 miles, I would consider that to be long range. The way things are now, a lot of people would consider 300 miles long range, but there are very few people who are going to drive 200 to 300 miles in a day. And I used my Chevy Bolt EV to do rideshare, like picking up people on Lyft and Uber and driving 4,000 miles a month, and that was plenty. And right now I have the 40 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, and today is Friday, and as you can see, I've driven 335 miles so far this week, and this car works really well for me. I'm not an advocate of buying the biggest battery that you can get. I'm an advocate of pricing cars at a point where people will actually buy them. For people who just don't need 300 miles of range, maybe a plug-in hybrid works, maybe a shorter range electric vehicle like the Nissan Leaf will work for them, or the Hyundai Ioniq EV. Those are kind of just my quick thoughts on the plug-in world. And I do believe that Chevy should have kept the Bolt plug-in as an option, especially with 50 miles of range. It would actually be a category leader in that segment if it had kept that car and possibly even updated it to be more modern like they did with the Bolt EV. So let me know your thoughts, like and subscribe the video, and if you're doing any shopping on Amazon today, please use the links in the comments. Have a great day.